Let's read this story again.
Mission Incredible.
Written by,
Lori Schimmel.
illustrated by,
Anthony Coffey. Charlie and Scout were here. Page 29. Charlie and Scout were here. Bang, ping, clank, thump. Charlie looked out the porthole. Scout tried jumping over to see out too, but Charlie's face covered the window opening. Charlie said, "Hold on, Scout. We're going through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It might be a little rough." Scout sat still in his seat. His ears laid flat on his head each time an object hit the side of the spaceship. Scout began to whimper. "It's okay, boy. I'll get us through here safely," Charlie told his faithful co-pilot as he patted him on the head. The asteroid belt was too important to miss. Charlie snapped a few pictures with his camera and recorded his thoughts in his notebook. By the time he finished writing, the bumping and jostling stopped. "We're out of the asteroid belt." "That wasn't so bad, was it?" Charlie asked Scout. "Now, on to Jupiter," Charlie shouted as he waved his finger in the air. Scout responded with a playful bark. It wasn't long before they could see Jupiter. Its size filled the whole window. "Oh my gosh! It's enormous!" Charlie shouted. "And there's the great red spot! It's gigantic too!" Charlie and Scout looked out the window in amazement. The planet looked like it could swallow the tiny spaceship in one gulp. Several minutes passed before Charlie remembered. "My camera!" Quickly, he snapped a dozen or more pictures of the massive planet. "I got a lot of pictures, Scout, but Jupiter is just too big to get it all in one picture." The two astronauts were impressed by everything about Jupiter. Charlie saw several objects off in the distance. "Hey, there are some of Jupiter's moons," he announced to his co-pilot. "I read that Jupiter may have as many as 63 moons. Unbelievable!" As Jupiter grew smaller out the porthole, Charlie took the time to write his observations of the grand planet in his notebook. Scout looked over and licked the page where Charlie was writing. "Hey, pencils only! But I'll make sure to write how much you like Jupiter too," Charlie said. With Jupiter behind them, Saturn couldn't be too far ahead. Charlie looked out the window every few minutes. "We're almost there, boy," Charlie said with excitement. Just then, the rings of Saturn could be seen off in the distance. "I see it! I see it!" Charlie yelled. Scout barked. Charlie steered the spaceship around the planet. It was huge too, though not as big as Jupiter. From far away, Saturn's icy rings looked thin and smooth, sort of like the thin cirrus clouds on Earth. But up close, the rings were bumpy and jagged. Some of the ice was as tall as a mountain. Some of it looked like sharp icicles or stalagmites he had seen in the caves at Carlsbad Caverns on vacation one time. This was not exactly what Charlie expected to see. "All of the planets look so different up close," Charlie said to Scout. "I guess this is kind of how Galileo felt the first time he saw Saturn's rings through his telescope. I bet it wasn't what he expected either." Charlie glanced at the fuel gauge on the instrument panel. "Good. We've got just enough fuel to land on Titan and get back home," he announced. Charlie got his map out of his pocket and checked the location of Titan. He looked out the porthole and pointed, "It's over there." They were close to Titan. Charlie pressed some of the colorful buttons on the instrument panel and the spaceship began its landing. Charlie was a good astronaut. He made a smooth landing. Next, he put on his space helmet. Charlie put Scout's helmet on and hooked it to his collar. He tied a long rope to his waist and to Scout's leash. Finally, Charlie tucked his plaque under his arm. He flipped a few switches off and opened the hatch. The two astronauts gently stepped out. Charlie looked around for a good place to leave his plaque. He set it down, then stepped back to snap a picture of his work. Charlie put his camera away and read his plaque aloud. "Here, Charlie and Scout from planet Earth, first set foot upon Titan. We came in peace for all mankind." Charlie stood up straight and then saluted the plaque. The two astronauts went back inside the spaceship. Charlie put away the space helmets and reconnected both of them to their seats with a shorter rope. Scout sat quietly as Charlie pressed the big red button on the instrument panel. A fiery blast came from the jets on the bottom of the spaceship. They lifted off of Titan and headed for home. One last time, Charlie took out his notebook and wrote his observations. Scout looked over and licked Charlie's hand while he wrote. "I know, boy. Me too. I couldn't have done this without you," Charlie said as he gave Scout a big hug. "It's going to take a while to make it back home. Let's take a nap as we go." Scout wagged his tail and curled into a ball on his seat. Charlie took one last look at Saturn and then rested his head on the window. Buzz, 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 buzz. Charlie sat straight up in bed and hit the button on his alarm clock. The noise stopped, but Scout did not budge. Charlie rubbed his eyes and looked around his bedroom. The roll of foil that his mom gave him was still on the floor. Everything looked normal, but Charlie was confused. He ran to his window and looked into the backyard. There on the launch pad was his spaceship, and it looked normal too. What? Was that a dream? He thought. I guess it was. Wow, that was some dream. "Charlie! Charlie! Charles Edward Crawford!" his mom called from the hall. "I'm up, Mom," he answered. Charlie looked at his desk. The plaque was gone, but his notebook was there. Charlie got a puzzled look on his face. Maybe it wasn't a dream.